This is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
Hey, it's your boy Miguel Z with the Value of Wrestling New Japan Rebound Podcast. I have a guest for you, folks.
Yeah, that part. Hey, man, shout out the Value of Wrestling. I'm right here with the Big O's, San Jose. We done shut the shit down. Love and respect, though, man. Value of Wrestling. Hello.
Man, thank you, brother.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time. It's that time. Oh, it is a time. And this is not a great time to be here. This isn't a rant I want to rant on. It is just a matter of factual having to deal with this. Ladies and gentlemen, on the big time, this is Value Wrestling. I'm going to give you a little conversation about the Mr. McMahon, the Vincent Kennedy McMahon lawsuit that dropped today, the information that came out in the Wall Street Journal. I read through the case file, and all I can tell you is if you really, really want to know, go read that case file. Other people may get more detail about it, but we're going to talk about it. So stay with me right after this.
This is the value of wrestling, the revolutionary force in wrestling podcasting.
Oh, you know. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, you know, it's another day. A day where we should be talking about Royal Rumble preparations. Who's going to show up, who's doing what. And Kevin Patrick being released by the WWE, CM Punk, and WWE bringing back the old CM Punk shirt. Highly popular CM Punk shirt. But we're here to talk about Vince McMahon. Today, a lawsuit was filed against Vincent Kennedy McMahon by Janelle Grant, a former employee by the WWE that met Mr. McMahon through an acquaintance. Janelle Grant was prior to this, was a home caretaker of her parents who both tragically passed away. And they were in financial straits due to a bankruptcy. They lost a house. Pretty much what it feels like leaving Miss Grant with nothing. They lived in some type of apartment complex building of some type. And the residence supervisor of the building had known Mr. McMahon and reached out to Mr. McMahon to help Miss Grant get a job. And a job was promised her within WWE and probably forever changed her life. Today's complaint, and this comes from the attorney of Janelle Grant, Ann Callis of Holland Law Firm, is representing Janelle Grant in her lawsuit against Vince McMahon and the WWE. And it issued a statement, and the statement reads as follows. Today's complaint seeks to hold accountable two WWE executives who sexually assaulted and trafficked plaintiff Chanel Grant, as well as the organization that facilitated or turned a blind eye to the abuse, then swept it under the rug. She's an incredibly private and courageous person who has suffered deeply at the hands of Mr. McMahon and Mr. Laurinaitis. Ms. Grant hopes that her lawsuit will prevent other women from being victimized. The organization is well aware of Mr. McMahon's history of depraved behavior, and it's time that they take responsibility for the conduct of its leadership. TK response to everything. Mr. McMahon does not control TKO, nor does he oversee the day-to-day operations of WWE. While this matter predates our TKO executive team's tenure at the company, we take Ms. Grant's horrific allegations very seriously and are addressing the matter internally. Today's complainant seeks to hold accountable two of the WWE executives, and that was from the attorney. The first part from TKO representatives. Mr. McMahon's lawyer has come out and made a statement. That's the Grant there. Furthermore, a spokesperson representing McMahon has responded to the allegations. And this is what they said. The lawsuit is riddled with falsehoods, baseless fabrications of events that never transpired, and a malicious distortion of the truth. Mr. McMahon intends to vigorously defend himself against these allegations. Recently, Vince McMahon was removed from WWE from the board, resigned, came back, forced his way in over issues with payments to a woman to silence her from talking, undisclosed NDAs, money used from WWE funds to pay these. There was much more, and we knew there was much more. We just had never heard what the more was. And today, the Wall Street Journal broke down a whole article that I'm not even going to get into. If you really want to know what happened, you can go read the Wall Street Journal's article. You can listen to other podcasters talk about this, break it down. Some are going to go on the surface. Some are going to dive deep into details. But it is a tragic, tragic day in the world of wrestling. Recently, Chris Jericho had some comments where he opened his mouth on Christmas Day, and some things flew back to him about misappropriate relationships, and the world booed him out of the building. He got hit very harshly, and we here would hold Chris Jericho accountable for any actions that he may have taken. Again, Chris Jericho, we don't have any details, and we do not know if he did anything at all. And needless to say, Chris Jericho came out and said, yeah, if you're going to do something, people need to be held accountable. And I'm kind of here to say Vince McMahon definitely needs to be held accountable. The atrocious actions that were taken and seem to be solidified by truth. There seems to be screenshots of text messages from Mr. McMahon to Miss Grant that seem to validate the story. There's a lot more damning evidence here. How Mr. McMahon's saying this is all falsehoods is going to be very interesting. What his story is going to be in reciprocation to the allegations of sexual misconduct that are just a tragedy, that are disgusting, that are such a depravity. Sadly, it's hard to not feel somewhat not taken aback. I am shocked on how deep this goes, but not shocked that we're hearing about allegations like this with Mr. McMahon. With Vincent Kennedy McMahon, not Mr. McMahon, the character that was portrayed on TV, but the person that is Vincent Kennedy McMahon, the founder of WWF, WWE. He bought the company from his daddy. And if you want to go, you can look up the Wall Street Journal article. You can dig into the 67 pages of the lawsuit that depict and tell all very detailed. It's very graphic. If you do read it, viewer discretion advised, I guess you would say. Be ready to really dive into a world that you don't want to. I really don't think you want to read it. I think if you listen to what's been put out there, you know enough. They're just a twisted and a twisted. It was twisted. It was a dive into a mindset that I don't even know how to wrap my brain around. the depravity. And the two people named in the suit, Vincent Kennedy McMahon and John Laurinaitis, were both specifically named throughout this lawsuit with details on particular behaviors, along with other WWE executives whose names were not named. There was WWE executives and office workers, office employees that were named, Executive 1, Executive 2, Office blah, blah, blah 1, Office 2. There was a mention of a referee that was good friends with Vince McMahon. The referee was not named in this suit, but we know there was supposedly a referee. We know that supposedly up to 12 technicians that work within WWE were talked about as Vince McMahon showed inappropriate pictures of Miss Grant that she had sent him due to coercion, pressure, manipulation, grooming, whatever you may want to call it. You really have to dig into that. His behavior, he showed signs of grooming, he showed signs of manipulation, he showed signs of control, basically. Hey, if you want your job, you're going to do this. It's really a lot of this, like, I'm going to take care of you, but you're going to give me what I want. It's a lot of how this boils down to. So she was pressured, she was forced against her will, in the sense that she didn't feel there was any other way out of it. That by the time it gotten to this point of pictures and everything, that she had already been groomed, already been manipulated, already been put in a place where she didn't feel she had a way out, and this was the only way to remain. Vince McMahon used threats of lawyers and his high-priced lawyers, and basically defaming the character of Miss Grant if her cooperation was not followed through with in what he wanted, along with Mr. Laurinaitis. There is a statement in the lawsuit where it does state a WWE wrestler and a former UFC former UFC heavyweight champion are stated in the documentation of this lawsuit. The person is not specifically named. I will not name it. You can read the suit or acknowledge that a wrestler, a WWE superstar that Vince was trying to re-sign, who happened to be a UFC fighter, UFC heavyweight champion. We know there's not that many in WWE, but I will not sit here, and we here at the Value Wrestling cannot sit here and say a person's direct name because we don't know the details. We can assume, along with everybody else, and there seems to be implications that may be applying to said person, but I will not directly name anybody that was not directly named in the lawsuit. If people were mentioned, I will talk about executive officer 2, office whoever, a referee, technicians. There was a celebrity doctor who was talked about, never named, but it's just a celebrity doctor that Mr. McMahon sent Miss Grant to after she was having physical and emotional trauma, illness, damage to her body, and she was in a very emotional state, which if you read it, you're going to understand the depravity of what led her down to this road, of why she was in such a traumatic and vulnerable emotional and mental state, that she would need to seek the help of a doctor who also worked with Vince McMahon and pretty much manipulated her behavior along the way to continue her silence. She was forced into silence by Mr. McMahon. There was also a physical therapist of Vince McMahon that got involved in this. This person was not named. It was just a physical therapist. And this was some of this most disgusting behavior. And I know people have their things, but it is a sad day. WWE's Royal Rumble is ahead of us. TKO may have known that something was out there. I don't know how deep into it they knew the details of what was coming out. We don't know how many people really knew all the details to everything that came out today. We don't know how deep it runs. Apparently, Miss Grant was working within WWE. There was a lot of rumor innuendos that existed within the corporate business structure of talks of possibly a relationship between the two of them. So there was some knowledge somewhere. In one part, there was a time that Miss Grant was locked in an office with Mr. McMahon, Vincent McMahon, and John Laurinaitis. Against her will, she was forced and locked into this office, while other people within the office did their daily things. What they knew and didn't know, whether they were turning a blind eye or not turning a blind eye, we don't know. Again, these are all allegations of speculation, other than the facts that are stated in this case. Growing up a WWE fan, it's really hard at this point in time to wrap my head around it, knowing the Royal Rumble is coming up, and we do have to separate the two, Vince McMahon and his chosen behaviors, from the company that is WWE. People who may have not done what needed to be done at the time definitely need to be held accountable. Anybody involved in this situation, as the details come out, need to be held accountable for their role or whatnot. If there are people within WWE that turned a blind eye and knew something, the accountability needs to be there. Yes, there was an NDA signed. Vince McMahon forced Miss Grant to sign an NDA. Part of the reason we believe this information is coming out is that the payments weren't completely made in agreement with the NDA, so there may be a violation of NDA, and also that this NDA was signed under distress, and you can understand why. If you read it all, you'll understand. It is a. I think we have to move away and let WWE, under its new management, TKO, under its new leadership of Nick Khan and Triple H. We do have to wonder how much Stephanie may have known about this issue and why she got stepped away from the company. And again, it's very interesting. Within the time this started falling, and the rumors that came out about Vince McMahon and NDAs and all these agreements that flushed him out, was about the same time that this relationship ended. The NDA was signed. It seemed like the summer of 2022 when Vince McMahon started getting forced out of his position, out of his power. So there's a lot there we wish to understand, but we may never understand. We wonder what relationship Triple H may have had with Vince McMahon. Because we know they worked closely together. Triple H is not implicated or any conversations that show that he had any knowledge of anything like this going on. And we can only hope that others are not sucked into this. But who is involved, who may have known, I definitely think accountability needs to be held. I hope we can separate Vince McMahon's behaviors away from the WWE and its new direction, along with TKO. As Nick Khan is leading this company, Dwayne Johnson has been brought onto the board of directors. Triple H is head of a lot of the day-to-day creative operations. So hopefully we can, say that where it's a corporate aspect of WWE that definitely needs to be held accountable. But what we see in the ring, the superstars in the ring, that we can enjoy the show, enjoy the Royal Rumble. But right now, TKO needs to do everything they need to do to get Vince McMahon out of TKO. Right now, he has nothing to do with the day-to-day operations of WWE and anything really to do with TKO, but he needs to be removed from everything that is TKO. They can't take his stock away from him, but I'm sure they can force him to sell his stock. Vince McMahon needs to be removed from TKO in every aspect, forced to sell all his stocks. I hate to convict somebody who hasn't actually been found guilty in a court of law, but the damning evidence is there. And I think everybody's of the same like mind that it's too obvious not to be. I think Vince McMahon needs to be erased from WWE history. Even as the founder, I think you're looking at Vince McMahon, and there's another man that I don't really like to care too much to talk about on this show or any show. I try to stay away from mentioning him because his deplorable actions were just beyond deplorable. He may have been a great wrestler in the ring, and that's one thing, but we're talking about Chris Benoit. And you can say, well, Chris Benoit did what he did, and it's way further worse than this, but to me, this is just as depraved, and it's just this horrible of a behavior. Um, what Chris Milan's actions were highly just they're unforgivable, and Vince McMahon falls in that same realm. He belongs to be like that. He deserves to be in the same place as Chris Benoit. He needs to be erased from everything WWE. He needs to be swiped pretty much from the records, like he liked to do to many other people who didn't go with what he wanted, and when he didn't want to acknowledge them, and he needs to be erased, and he will never be able to be inducted into the WWE Hall of Fame. There is no place for him in his own company's Hall of Fame, his own creation, and it's sad. And we can only hope that Nick Khan, Triple H, TKO, Ari Emanuel, Endeavor, and everybody who's associated with this can take WWE, continue to make it great, better, and move far away from this so this becomes history. And that WWE can strive to be better, and that we can love WWE for what it is, not for people who were involved in it. And we've seen that since, Benoit is gone. We moved past him. Some people talk about him. A lot of people just don't acknowledge him because he may have been a great wrestler in the ring, and that's awesome. But what he did in the end, it destroys pretty much all that, the legacy. And Vince McMahon has done the same thing too. It's like, let's see, there's no saving him. There's no rebounding. There's no comeback story. If he gets criminal charges, they need to lock him up for the rest of his life. He did it to himself, and I can't feel bad. And he ruined his legacy. He could ruin his name. He ruined he's marked his children. And who knows the ramifications of how Stephanie McMahon may be feeling. Mr. Man's an evil, evil man, and I think we only saw the surface of what he really was on TV. Wrestlers say that, sometimes we get to see him, but turned up a little bit, turned up to 10, turned up to 11. And I think we saw that sometimes wrestlers are really, a lot of who they are is who they show to be. And I think Vince McMahon, and I think that's the reason we're not all in just total shock. Why we can it's kind of expected, kind of makes sense, and that's sad. But because we saw Vince McMahon on TV for so long, and the jokes, and the crude humor, and the behavior, that it's just so easy to go, yeah, it really makes sense, and it's a damn freaking shame. I wish there was something good to put to this. I wish there was some way to make everything better. I know the Rumble's coming up, and we're going to be here to cover the Rumble. We'll be here tomorrow night to cover SmackDown. We are going to bring you the very best in what we do here in the Value of Wrestling. I know a lot of people are out here talking about what's going on, what's gone down, and I know a lot of people have gotten into the details of this lawsuit and described a lot of the behaviors, and there's just some anecdotes in here that are just beyond disgusting, deplorable, and just the privity, the illness that exists in somebody's mind to do some of the things that Vince McMahon did with this lady, Jarlonitis, and his part in all of this. Vince McMahon needs to be scrubbed from WWE history, period. He needs to be gone from TKO. He needs to be removed. He needs to forcibly have his stock sold. He can take his money and hopefully gets sued for everything he owns. Maybe he needs to go live back in a trailer in the middle of nowhere and grow old and alone, because he did it to himself. Of course, he's got glad-handing yes man. They're always going to be there for him. It is sad. Vince McMahon will probably be stricken from the Value Wrestling brand. This will probably be the last time we will mention him by name going forward. He's on the same level to me as Chris Benoit, and their behaviors are two separate, different actions. Granted, I acknowledge that, One is way different than what what Chris Benoit did compared to what Vince McMahon did. Is different in the sense of the actions taken, but the behavior, the malice, the depravity. There's not a difference to me. He is an evil man, and is disgusting, and his behavior is disgusting. And Mr. Laurinaitis' behavior in this mess and allowing it to happen is disgusting. And this is the it shouldn't have happened. It's sad that this has to come out now. I'm glad it's here. Um, I know my colleagues both don't know what to say. Um, but I know I'm the guy who comes and brings you guys the news, and I felt it was important to address this. Everybody else is, and we here at the Value Wrestling want to be the best. We want to be the revolutionary force in podcasting, and we want to bring you all this stuff. And this is newsworthy in the world of wrestling. Sadly, um, we only hope that Miss Grant gets what she needs. I hope she is getting the mental health help that she needs. Any physical help. I hope she can find peace in this life after the terrible, tragic events and just, anyways. I just hope that she can find peace in this life, that she can find by bringing this up. Maybe this is her taking down this evil man and allowing the world to really see behind the curtain, and that this will bring her some type of peace, um, that she can go on living the rest of her life with some type of happiness, with some type of peace, with some type of um, you know the traumatic. I know what it's like to live with a traumatic disorder. I understand not her story. I understand what a traumatic situation can be and how living with that can be very traumatic. And so my whole point is that I hope she can come past that, at least maybe put it to rest, where she can live in peace, where she can live in solace, where she can at least have some happiness. I know that sometimes in traumatic situations, it's always going to be there. It may always haunt you, but hopefully somewhere in there she can find peace. She can find happiness in what she has left of her life, uh, and find something to recover, and find solace in something. That's all I can really say is that I wish her the best. I hope she can find peace in life, where this doesn't just destroy her any more than it already has. Um, Ladies and gentlemen, this is the I don't even know what to say. I'm really, really, really lost for words. Uh, if you want to look up Wall Street Journal article, you can get the brief details. If you want to look up the case, it is out there. I am not going to give anything to credence. I'm not going to drop any links in the description box below. It is up to you as a person if you want to choose to go down that rabbit hole. I went down that rabbit hole to understand the facts of the case as it matters, so I could give you guys the most information I could that feels fitting. And a lot of it, there's just no reason to talk about on here. It's a it is a sad day, and I can only hope that tomorrow we continue, and we get to see WWE bring us one of the greatest Royal Rumbles, and that we can move on past this, even though this is going to be a shadow that lingers on for a long, long time. Um, it is truly, truly. Um, I don't even know. I don't even know the right words put into this situation. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm the Big Tyme. This has been a Big Tyme Rant. I thank you for taking time out of your day, your schedule, whenever you're watching this evening. Listen to me talk about this. I hope that if you go and read this, that you're able to digest it and separate it. If you don't read it, more power to you, because you probably don't really want to. Just take the words for the people who are telling you what was read and understand it's not a reading that you want to get into. I thank you. The Value of Wrestling appreciates you all for watching. I hate to say give this a like, but let's help get this out in the algorithm. Drop your comments in below if you read the stories, or if you read the story from Wall Street Journal, if you read the court case, 67 pages. Share your thoughts and opinion on the whole matter from what you know. Please do not give any details in the chat. That'll automatically be, I will promise you, we will delete anything that discusses just the inappropriate behaviors. If you have a comment, feel free to share it. Just don't share details from this case in the chat, in the comments. We're not here for that at the Value of Wrestling. So please feel free to share your opinion. If you think he did nothing wrong, that's your opinion. If you think he's innocent and you want to make your statements, you're fine. If you feel that you need to rant on Mr. McMahon, please do so in a reasonable way. An expletive of a rant is really not going to help. So, I mean, you can definitely say how you feel, what you think of him, but make sure you put it in an appropriate context, because some of that just blocked by YouTube. But if you feel that you need to get in here and discuss the case or make statements about the case or get into the details, those will probably be removed. I'm just telling you that now. We're not here to stop you from voicing your opinion, but we are not going to be a proxy for details or discussing the things. So feel free to share in the chat, the comments, your feelings and thoughts in jest. What do you think of Vince McMahon? You think he should be erased from the history of WWE forever? You're welcome to share those thoughts. If you're new here and you're just finding us and you enjoyed this little moment here, I know it's not one of the funner moments. Please check out some of our other videos. I hope you find some great information in a lot of the other videos we put out. But please hit that subscribe button. Help the Value Wrestling grow. Become part of the Value Wrestling family, because we are working to grow and become contenders, not pretenders, in the wrestling podcast world. Again, I thank you for being here. There's not a lot I can say. It's a shame how we got here. But until next time, this has been the Big Tyme Rants. This is the Value of Wrestling. I thank you for being here.